I've grown up my whole life thinking that, like, when being told to man up, it's kind of to just get on with it, stop crying if you're crying, be strong, like kind of be like a bigger person, and just get on with it, not really complain about life.
Basically means stop whining, stop being a little girl about it, kind of thing. So I think someone tells you to man up, it generally means that you're doing something perceived as like weak.
Show less emotion, maybe a bit stronger. Don't say what you really feel. Yeah, just don't complain. Whatever happens, take it on the chin. Be emotionally strong, don't ever show any signs of weakness.
I think for me, what I immediately think is the need to be strong. But when you say man up, I think it's almost like you're not kind of at that point already, so you have to improve. Yeah, so for me it would be to harden up, to get stronger and to push through whatever challenge is facing you.
I would say to be a man would be to be like strong, which, yeah, I don't necessarily think is right, but I think it is seen as like just get on with it kind of thing, and not show weakness kind of thing.
It comes from the idea of like men being strong, you're not allowed to show weakness, emotion, meant to just crack on, get on with it, not complain. It's quite damaging, quite restraining.
Physically strong, mentally strong, level-headed, aggressive is actually one of them. Quite angry, not happy, not emotionally sensitive, emotionally repressed.
You're expected to, like girls, like women. You're expected to be cheeky, flirty, and you're expected to, never deny sex, never turn down sex, that kind of thing.
It shouldn't mean that every man has to man up, and I don't think, when I think of the phrase man up, I don't immediately think that you have to man up as in you need to become a certain man, if that makes sense. For me, I just associate with getting strong with yourself and getting tough with yourself if you need to and if you have to. Not that you always have to be strong all the time, but I think you should always be prepared to get strong and tough with yourself, because you're always going to get challenges thrown at you. So yeah, I'd say that is what a man should be. But that doesn't mean that you never show any weakness, and that's an important thing, I think. So I think the man, for me, should be able to be strong for himself, be strong for those around him, but he should also be able to feel free to express his emotions and to show weakness, and to reach out from those around him who in the past might have just looked at him as someone who should be the constant, the rock that doesn't show any emotion. I think times are changing now, as they should, and I think men should be able to show that weakness and expect. I think it's not unreasonable to say that they should expect some comfort and support from those around him. So I have a really good relationship with my dad.
My dad is very different to your, stereotypical man.
My dad is that role model that kind of shows you what to be a man is. I mean, yeah, he's the one that you kind of look up to, and he's the one that shows you like what's right and wrong and all that kind of thing.
When my dad passed away when I was 5 years old, and it was funny, the other day my mum said that people would come up to me at 5 and 6 and go, "You're the man of the house now." clearly at 5 and 6 I was not the man of the house, and it clearly was my mum who was the man of the house. And she was a single parent who brought us all up, had a job, was working. But people would come up to me as 5 and 6 and think it would be beneficial to say that I'm the man of the house, and all it did was really put a lot of pressure on me. From young I always felt like I had some, I had to over care, and I felt like I had to be the one who was the strong one in the family, because that was kind of reinforced into me. You're the man of the house, you need to look after your mum. But actually everyone knows that my mum was looking after me. I was 6 years old, I couldn't do anything. But looking back at it at the time, someone says I'm the man of the house, at the time I go, it's quite glorified, I'm the man of the house now. But when I look back at it, from 20 years old now, I can really see it's actually really inappropriate.
I mean, thinking about it now, my dad tried to do everything he possibly could, well, both my parents, in fact, sorry, not my dad, like specifically, both my parents did, but my dad lived weeks away at a time. He would be home like on weekends and then come along and watch me play sport, and kind of trying to be there whenever you can be, and just working hard. I'd say that's probably what my dad has shown me, that like trying to do your best for your family and trying to be whatever you can be, as long as you make your family happy. I think that's what he's kind of showed me, that being like your family comes first, and that's the most important thing.
With all due respect to him, he's not the tallest guy, he's not a gym lad by any means, he's not the most sporty. He's got quite a tender heart. He's I don't want to say emotional in like a bad sense, but he's very comfortable with talking about how he feels. What I see as like a normal, what a man should do. When I look at my dad, it might not be this. It's nowhere near that definition that you gave me earlier. It's nowhere near your typical man. But do I feel like it makes him any less of a man than anyone I see on TV? Absolutely not. And when I grow up, if I could be half the man that he is, I'd be pretty lucky off, I reckon.
I think I've found over the years that I've always kind of known what the perfect like son was, and I think to him, and I think intertwined with that was ideas of a masculinity, of being a man in the conventional sense, in the stereotypical sense. I've always thought that were I to be homosexual, I know he'd still love me, and I'm confident that we'd be able to move past it. But I think it would hurt him. And I think that's just a natural thing for him. I don't hate him for that. It's just an education thing, and it's about being exposed to that, and he just hasn't been exposed to it. But in terms of toxic masculinity, if I was gay, I think I'd feel nervous about telling him that's the truth. And I mean, we joke about it, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, it's getting a bit long, like looking a bit gay," or he'll say, "Call me Samantha" or something like that. I mean, it's harmless stuff, but if you're really wanting to like highlight things or ways in which I could take offence, if I was more of that character, then I think you could probably point that out. Personally, it hasn't affected me, but I can see how it might have if I'd been someone else. But it's important that these things are thought about, so that if that person is you, that you feel that you don't feel marginalised and you don't feel less the person you are because of it.
I only start really having memories from 5, 6. So I've only really lived with my mum and sister, which I think has influenced me, actually really positively. I feel like I'm quite emotionally intelligent, and that's down to my mum and sister. And I think it's really shaped me as who I am. When I was turning 17, 18, 19, and you're turning into a man, when you think you've got it all cracked up, when you think you've got it and you've got no one to ask questions about how to shave, you've got troubles with girls, they don't really have that male figure to go to. There's an important role for men in bringing up a child, an important role for having male figures, but I don't think you can too heavily rely on them, because you need both. You need a man and you need a male figure. You need a woman figure. You need both of those role models in your life. And I think it's very hard to turn into a man in general. But when I didn't have a male figure like a dad to look up to, I think I really struggled with turning into those traditional values, because that's what I thought it was. But obviously, growing up, you learn that, you know, being a man isn't judged by how big your muscles are, it isn't judged by how deep your voice is. It's judged by, you know, whether you're a caring person, whether you listen, which are all things that I got from, you know, my mum and the women around me.
How they see me as a man, I would hope that they'd see me as someone who's kind, and who would always give them time, like give them the time of day, wouldn't be someone who's picky about who he spends his time with.
I think my mates would describe me as quite sensitive, a listener, caring, try and help people, give everyone the same time as each other, give everyone the time of day to have a conversation with.
I keep my cards quite close to my chest. I don't really. I'm quite loud, but I don't talk about myself very much.
The thing with me though is, I think it's quite difficult because I'm this 6'4", 5" big bloke. People often think that I'm this like big man, this strong man. Yeah, I think people have this perception of me because I'm big, that I'm this, macho, like, I don't know, kind of. It's difficult because I think people who know me quite well know that I'm probably not that person, if that makes sense.
I'd hope that they'd think that I'm someone who would be there for them if they wanted to discuss something which was keeping them down, or if they wanted to ask my advice on something that they thought would be useful to them. I'd hope that they'd think that I'd be there and willing to help them.
I like to think they think of me as quite level-headed. I do go on the occasional rant. I don't think anyone thinks I don't. I do like a good rant. I'm pretty good with advice, I think.
In terms of that being a man, I wouldn't say that I fit a stereotype of like the big, strong man in that sense, but I don't think that matters to a lot of people, certainly not the people that I hang around with.
But I would say as a stranger who just saw me, they probably have this perception that I'm quite a big, like, strong person who probably doesn't show my feelings that much. And then as you start to get to know me, I don't know, maybe I do talk about things.
People say I lack emotional intelligence. I think that's probably a fair reflection. I'm not like a gym lad or anything, never have been, never will be. People kind of sometimes struggle to get their head around that.
Hardworking, quite laid back. Don't want to give myself too many positive adjectives. I think they see me as a good friend to have.
The way I see myself as a man,
I don't know, I think it's always often what I find myself difficult to give your own opinion on yourself.
There are certainly a lot of things about me that I'd like to change. I think that's natural. Everyone's kind of striving for like their perfect self. I don't think anyone is their perfect self. I think the idea of having a perfect self is kind of flawed in any way, but everyone needs something to aspire for. And obviously how you see yourself, or how you best see yourself, or how you see yourself in the best possible light is one of those.
I say it's something that I think about probably too much. It's something that I challenge myself on a lot, more than I should. It's something that, if I was being brutally honest, I think about, not because of what other people think of me, but sometimes what I think of myself. And I think that's because I'm at that point in my life, 20 years old, where I feel like I need to be getting on a certain track, which I can then follow for the rest of my life. And I feel like I'm at like a junction whether I can choose different ones.
Probably say I'm quite sensitive, quite a mummy's boy, quite introverted at times. I like my own space.
I don't know, would I say I'm a good person to reflect on what the traditional traits of a man were? No, I wouldn't.
Probably a lot more insecure than you think, actually. Constantly reflecting on, whenever you see a group of friends or someone asks you something, I'm constantly like reflecting on, could I have said that in a better way? Should I have said that? Should I have kept my mouth shut?
I like to think of myself as quite a caring person, which probably isn't stereotypically thought of to be quite that manly trait, but that comes through my mum, who does everything for everyone else and is such a selfless person. So I would say, when you probably on the surface I seem like this big bloke and everything like that, but potentially don't actually show, like when you get to know me, the traits that possibly men should have, so to speak.
Don't ask for help enough, and I don't know where that's come from. Reflecting on that probably comes from feeling like I don't have someone to talk to, as if from a child, being a man.
Do I have any insecurities?
Having insecurities and stuff like that kind of, I guess, isn't seen as a manly thing.
I think insecurities are a really personal topic, and I've said a few that I have good days and I have bad days.
I think my insecurities, obviously how I look is a huge one. Everyone gives themselves a good look in the mirror before they go out.
And sometimes I'll come away from it and think about the things I've said, and I think, do you think I should have said that? This is me talking to myself, or what does he think of me? But now that I've said that,
I'm overweight, I'm receding hairline, I'm all these kind of things, and I don't know, maybe I play it off that I don't, and to be fair, like with my hair I couldn't care less, but
I have days where I get really upset and I don't want to talk to anyone. I have days where I keep myself to myself.
Emotional insecurity. If I wear these clothes, what will they think of me? If I wear this top rather than another top, does that help me blend in more, or does that make me look better in their eyes?
I have those thoughts and I just put them away, and most of the time, 99% of the time, I'll put them away and I won't think about them again the next day, and that's how I deal with it.
if I was that insecure about it, I'd do something about it. I guess that's kind of what it is, but
people don't want to talk about it. If you are struggling, people don't like talking about their own weaknesses. I don't know if that's a guy thing, but conversation will go everywhere except people saying what they actually feel. Guys want to say what they feel against all costs.
When it's something like losing your dad, if you haven't really gone through that, it's quite hard to understand, and it's quite hard to offer advice. People feel like it's quite difficult to, and I feel quite guilty. I don't want to put any burden on them, and I think that comes from the whole concept that men shouldn't talk about their issues, men shouldn't talk about their problems. So yeah, I think that feeling of guilt when I want to talk to some of my friends, I think that can really That's a real insecurity of mine, and it leads to a lot of things being kept inside and bottling up.
Insecurities aren't about impressing yourself, because you have to play the cards you're dealt, right? But you want to make sure that whatever you do, it reflects on you in the best possible way. And I think that would be my insecurity. Is constantly thinking, what do other people think of me? Rather than, what do I think of me?
I've had friends come up to me before who've said, I don't really like the person that I am anymore. And that hit me, when they said that kind of thing, it hit me quite hard.
People always want to be accepted, whether it's by a group of friends, by society, by their siblings, by a group of mates. And they want to change themselves so that they blend in. And if their natural being is that they don't, blend into the stereotypical, this is what a man should be, this is what a guy should be. At school, you go through this process of changing or, repressing bits of yourself. And sometimes it's harder to repress bits. People constantly trying to be someone they're not. And for some people that's easier, and for some people that isn't.
In 10 years' time, if I did this interview again, I would hope that I'd be comfortable in my skin like I am now.
As a man, I would hope that I have a wife and 2 kids, a wife that I get on really well with, who don't have a toxic relationship of any kind.
I'd like bigger arms, I'd like a 6-pack, I'd like a really nice wife sat next to me. But I don't actually look at it in the big picture like that.
The thing is, these when you say it and ask these questions about what my aspirations would be and everything like that, and you think about it a lot more, like the thing that I want to do is have a solid job, be making good money, potentially have a house, all that kind of thing.
By the time I'm 30, I hope I'm a bit more grounded, a bit more secure in myself.
And that I have 2 children which are happy and healthy, and that, everyone's healthy that I love. That would be the ideal scenario for me as a man, and that I'm in a profession which I'm proud to be in, and something which I look forward to pursuing every day.
That archetypal, manly figure is still what I subconsciously aspire to. You're James Bond or whatever, I'm not saying I want to be James Bond, but you get the idea.
And all of those things kind of make me think of what a traditional man would be, who would be earning for a family, looking for the future with your looking after your kids and everything like that. And it becomes a lot more difficult to answer, well, at least I find it more difficult to answer without showing these male traits and everything like that, if that kind of makes sense.
I would want to have, or be on the way to have, a family where I can be that father figure for my children. And it's a massive thing for me. I really, really want to be a dad to a little boy or a little girl at some point, and I really want to be a father, because I've heard so many things about my dad, and they were so good for me. Even though I don't really know him, I don't remember him much, I really can't wait to be that to someone else who's not going to be guided by those toxic masculinity traits. So that's a real life goal of mine.